Hi, welcome, and thank you for joining me on this presentation about third culture kids and what you as a parent can do to support them. Before I start, I want to stress that if you register at the end of the presentation, you'll receive the full text by email, so there is no need to write anything down. Let's dive in. All right, to begin with, a little introduction to the term to those who are not familiar. It's actually been around for a while, first coined in the 1950s, but since then it's developed quite a bit and has most recently been defined as follows. A TCK is a person who has spent a significant part of his or her developmental years outside the parent's culture. They frequently build relationships to all the cultures while not having full ownership in any. And although elements from each culture may be assimilated into the TCK's life experience, the sense of belonging in relationship to others is of similar background. And the last part is so true for me and my international friends. Only third culture kids understand that. When you meet someone raised in the same way, the connection is so strong. You just get each other. And interestingly, many researchers have called upon the need to study the TCK population, even called the prototype citizens of the future by sociologist Ted Ward. And as the number of families relocating continues to rise, it becomes more and more critical because the way we have defined and studied a quote unquote normal childhood is changing, and there needs to be more awareness around that. So the way you have chosen to raise your children has an immense amount of benefits, ones that I can vouch for. Firstly, heightened intercultural sensitivity, an expanded worldview, open-mindedness, cultural empathy. On top of this, proficiency in multiple languages very often, which serves your kids well in their private life and in their professional career. Secondly, when entering adulthood, TCKs can adapt themselves to different situations, people, or environments. They handle change incredibly well and smoothly, and they can communicate across cultures in a positive and effective way and with understanding, which means they are usually socially very strong. Also, nice to know for you as parents that TCKs are usually highly educated. 4 times more likely to have bachelor's degrees compared to non-TCKs, which is a big difference. And they often choose careers with international themes, education, medicine, law. And these are just a few examples of the main benefits. But unfortunately, like everything else, it also brings challenges with it that are very unique and difficult to understand unless you've been through the same experience. Firstly, unresolved grief and loss as a result of their relocations. Most third culture kids go through more grief experiences by the time they are 20 than monocultural individuals do in a lifetime. They often have to leave behind pretty much everything and everyone who has shaped their world. And this can be really tough on children. They lack the life experience and the sense of time that you have as an adult to put moving into perspective. And they also often lack the self-awareness and the vocabulary to communicate about the impact of these drastic changes to you. Secondly, inner insecurity can result as an effect of continuously having to adapt themselves or always being different from others. Some TCKs are excellent at adapting, at blending in, while others tend to define their identity through differences. So they choose to embrace being different and they define an identity around that. But whether they choose one or the other, this process tends to take effort and it comes at a cost, which is they are often never really completely comfortable, relaxed, or at home. They always have to spend extra energy monitoring their surroundings. And some third culture kids even end up feeling a bit like cultural or social frauds who, on the surface, appear to fit in, but they don't feel that on the inside. and this can lead to a lot of inner insecurity. Something else that comes up is real or perceived arrogance that arises particularly when third culture kids move back to their country of origin. Because of their expanded worldview, they can come to view themselves as being more cosmopolitan or smarter or globally aware. But there is another more complicated dimension to this issue, which is that it is often just insecurity by another name. So third culture kids can come off as being arrogant, and this can be the opposite of what they actually want. And it could just be a deep insecurity with who they are within the context of their passport culture. And another interesting topic is the theme of duality in the lives of third culture kids. So their experience of belonging everywhere and nowhere, being profoundly connected and disconnected, feeling a part of and apart from others at the same time. And this is very tough for children. And finally, something that I see a lot with my clients is the delusion of choice that arises as a result of parents making such large choices in which they have no say. So sometimes I notice that third culture kids seem to have difficulty in making or feeling excited about plans. And something that goes along with this is for them, the opportunities are endless. And when the world is your oyster and you know that everything is possible, this can also be daunting, and it can be tough to make choices or feel excited about making choices. And these challenges together can impact the self-confidence of your children. It can cause them anxiety and even lead to tensions at home. And something that in relation to these challenges is really important is the basic needs of children. And I wanted to emphasize these to you. These apply to any children, but I want to outline and stress how they are relevant in the lives of your kids. Many clients I see struggle later on with insecurities or pain because in their experience, one of or more of these needs were not met, not because as parents they meant any harm, but because they simply didn't understand or were not aware, because they didn't have this experience when they were younger. They grew up differently. And firstly, children need to be valued. A large part of this is about listening and respecting your children. And because in most cases, your children are growing up in a different world from the one in which you yourself grew up in. So listen to them carefully. Be there. Don't brush off your child's concern or behavior as silly. Also, discuss potential moves and preparations for these moves with them in early stages. Include them to show them that they are respected. Secondly, children need to feel special. And this is a particular vulnerability for many third culture kids. Emphasize to them that there's at least one place where they will always belong and where no one could ever replace them, which is in your family. No new opportunity, no new job, no lifestyle changes will stand in the way of that. Thirdly, children need to feel protected. All of us feel particularly vulnerable in a new setting. You can probably relate. And we all require a sense of safety before we can take the risks needed to adjust. So don't push your children out on their own into a new school or a new community too soon, especially when they don't yet know the language or the customs. But also find a balance between protection and independence. So no smothering. Let them go, but maintain clear, open lines of communication when you are separated from them so that they know you can always reach them. Lastly, children need to be comforted. Being comforted communicates that you as parents care enough to understand and be sensitive to your children's feelings, even if the situation can't be changed. And particularly in any transitional experience, the quietest, most compliant child may actually be grieving and need comfort the most. So this is very interesting for me, is that the messages that you portray to your children that have such a strong influence on how they experience their third culture upbringing. And as parents, you're constantly giving out messages, whether they are through words or through your behaviors. Children are perceptive and they pick up more than you think and more than you realize. And these messages are below are ones that you can encourage to your children, and more importantly, also practice yourself so that you lead by example. Firstly, tell them that home is more than just a place. There is a lot of comfort for kids in the thought that no matter how far your travels take you, the treasures that are most important, your memories, your values, your joys, they will not be lost at any airport terminal because you carry them within you. Secondly, building mindful relationships. So people will go in and out of your child's lives, enriching their days, maybe changing their ways, and being present and attentive and in the moment with our connection to others will help you and your children get the most fulfillment from the relationships that you build. And being mindful and teaching your children to be mindful can be a catalyst for the enjoyment of friendships, as well as an antidote for the grief that arises when they are gone. And make sure to discuss this. Thirdly, unpack your bags and plant your trees and grow roots. Don't be afraid. Tell your children not to be afraid to plant trees because you think you won't be able to pick the fruits. And unpacking your bags is a good metaphor for the commitment to embrace and enjoy the opportunities that are presented in the now. And this is also something that you can lead with by example. So do this yourself. Show your child that you are unpacking your roots, you are unpacking your bags, and you are not afraid that you cannot pick the fruits. Lastly, being open. Be open to new people, new cultures, and even differences between people and cultures. That will speak to your inherent need to belong to a group of people. And your child has the same need. And they also want to be accepted. So show your child that you are open and how important it is to be open. And what are some very practical things that you can do as parents to support your children? First of all, if you have just relocated or it's the start of a new school year, give them some extra time and attention and help. They don't only have to learn a new culture, a new city, and a new house, but also the rules of a new school and their new teachers and their peers. And this just costs a lot of energy and it's a daunting task. So help them where you can by making them feel comfortable through cooking their favorite foods, reading their favorite books, and just letting them know that you are there for them if they need or want to talk. Secondly, help your kids understand their host culture. Teach them about local traditions, foods, customs, and other things related to the country you are in. Maybe even do a cultural training with them. Teach them some basic words in the local language. All of these aspects will greatly strengthen the connection to the country where they are living in, because they won't feel like so much of an outsider. Thirdly, teach them about identity, about differences, about the TCK experience. And this is something I've mentioned before. Third culture kids can struggle to form a clear sense of identity. They're always adapting themselves, and it can be easy in that process to kind of lose touch with who you really are. So you can support your kids with doing activities with them that explore identity, building family trees, looking at your country, where you come from, the customs and the celebrations that you do in your country, personal likes and dislikes. Do this from an early age with your child. Explore, acknowledge, and celebrate social and cultural differences in their day-to-day lives so that they know that it's nothing to be afraid of. Also, and this is something I cannot stress enough, teach them about the term third culture kids and also about the common experiences and challenges that they can come across to help them realize that A, they are not alone, and B, it's completely normal. This realization for your kids can be so powerful and healing because they're doing their best to try and fit in and belong. But actually, there is a bigger group that they already belong in, that they're already a part of. And at the end of the presentation, I'll give you some useful tools and resources. And this is something that your kids can read, groups that they can join, so that they understand that they're part of a bigger group. Fourthly, even though this may be difficult as a parent, it's important to acknowledge that if your child is having difficulties, that you should connect them to a qualified counselor or a coach to get them the support they need. And sometimes this will be obvious, so your kids may be acting out. But sometimes a struggling third culture kids will stay very silent, put their heads down, and do their best to disappear. So be sure not only to look out for your children if they are acting out, but also if they appear isolated from their peers or if their academic work is not on par with their abilities. And lastly, and this is something that I cannot find in any research on third culture kids, but that is so important that I know from personal experience with my parents and from the experience of my clients, is don't take it personally or don't blame yourself. Because staying in one place doesn't guarantee that your children will grow up happy, and everything you have done is also to give them the best possible upbringing and present them with wonderful, unique, and life-changing opportunities. And you have shown them that the world is theirs for the taking. And maybe they will need some help. And often it's up to you as a parent to acknowledge that, because they will not come forward and say so themselves. So here, as I mentioned before, are some interesting resources that helped me personally, but also helped me in coaching my clients. The book Third Culture Kids Growing Up Amongst Worlds is considered the pioneering book in this subject. It's been around for a very long time, but they update it continuously with new information, new research, so this latest edition is very up to date. And this is the book that I wish I would have had growing up, and one that would have given my parents far greater understanding of what was going on in my head. So it's very useful both for you to read, but also for your teenage children to read. TCK World is a community for third culture kids to be involved in, where they can meet like-minded people. Same with the Facebook page that I posted below. Both are interesting for you as parents too, as there are many great articles and up-to-date research topics that are discussed there. This link to the YouTube video is a very interesting TED Talk that's nice to watch to get an overview of the positives and the challenges that come with being a third culture kids. And it's given by Ruth Van Breken, who also wrote the book Third Culture Kids, together with David Pollock. And this is just one of the multiple TED Talks on third culture kids that are really interesting and fun to watch. Finally, you can also sign up on my website so that you are kept up to date on interesting articles or new research on the subject. And don't worry, I won't stalk you because I don't like that myself. I send you new information about once a month so that you stay up to date. So, how can coaching help? Specifically online coaching, which is what I do. Most of you are probably familiar with the work of a counselor, but coaching is very different. And I want to stress that coaching is completely different from counseling or from psychology, and that in coaching we focus specifically on how things in the past or conditions now are making someone feel in that very moment. We don't go into the past, we stay in this moment. And it's very positive. We focus on the positive. Together we discover what your child's values and drivers are and where they want to go. And with these insights, we formulate concrete steps for your children to apply in their lives so they can start manifesting their confidence, their happiness, and lead the life they'd like to lead. And over the past 2 decades, schools have increased counseling services to provide more assistance, but It's not a safe space outside of school to talk about feelings, doubts, and needs. And the boundary for speaking to a school counselor at school was high, especially when you're trying to fit in and belong as a child. This is a very scary step. And coaching can provide a great alternative because it's very positive, very action oriented, and it will be a very insightful and fun experience for your child. And as a third culture kid, I understand and relate to the impact of moving around and continuously adapting yourself in order to fit in. And this, in combination with my coaching skills, allow me to help third culture kid teenagers grieve the losses from their repeated relocations and acknowledge the behaviors or habits they developed because of this lifestyle that may be getting in the way of them feeling fulfilled or feeling confident or taking confident choices. And also, on a very practical level, coaching helps young adults explore what they truly like. So, with my clients, I, I talk about what they are looking for from the college experience and help them make good decisions about which types of school will serve their needs. And by asking the right questions and helping your children to understand the possible obstacles, they will gain clarity, they will gain a sense of direction, and they will move in the direction they want to go. And I can also support you as parents in your quest to learn more about your own kids and how your lifestyle has affected them and what you can do to help. Your kids are going through something very unique but very real. They grow up at a young age because of these experiences, and there should be more recognition and support for that. And that links to why I do what I do, because there is just not enough awareness around third culture kids and the challenges they face. And there's not enough support, neither for children and for their parents. And especially from people who have been through the same, such as myself. As I mentioned before, I wish I would have known about third culture kids growing up, and I wish I would have had the support I needed so that I wouldn't have run into issues later on. Secondly, as I mentioned before, going to see a counselor at school, especially when you are trying to fit in and belong, is a scary step. It's not a safe place outside of school where kids can talk about their feelings and needs. And often also, you may think about going to see a child psychologist, but this may be a very drastic step and may not be necessary. There is another option. Coaching is positive, it's interactive, it's insightful, and together with your child, I work towards concrete goals and support them and give them the motivation they need to take the steps to get there. A coaching journey is therefore also usually a lot shorter than a counseling journey or a journey when you go and see a psychologist because it's so action oriented and so positive. Helping your child early on will prevent difficulties later in life that can be much deeper, much more ingrained, and much more difficult to deal with. Giving your children the tools to thrive early on is like a present to them, and it will benefit them personally and professionally for the rest of their lives. Finally, of course, I also do what I do because I love seeing adults become more confident and focus on the positives instead of the negatives from their international experience. And as a parent, this will also give you an increased understanding of how you can support your kids, and in turn will make you feel more confident too. And when you are confident, your children pick up on this and it makes them feel stronger. In short, this is something I wish I would have had when I was younger. I needed extra support, but I didn't know how to voice it, and I didn't know that it was there. My international friends also share this experience 100%. And it is up to you as parents to acknowledge that your kid could use this support. So we've come to the end of the training, and I want to offer you a free 30-minute session with me to see how I can help you and your children. You can book a call with me by clicking the link below, where you'll go directly to my agenda so that you can plan a call and we can discuss any questions you may have. And remember, if you didn't go through what your child is going through, speaking to somebody else who truly understands may give them the confidence and the push they need. And seeing your kid grow more confident and gain a sense of direction will also save you so much worrying and stress. And going to see a counselor at school, while useful, doesn't provide a safe space for your kid with somebody who truly understands. I do all coaching, all online coaching through camera so that while we are not in the same space, we see each other and we form a click that way. And here I put some things that clients have said about me. Being a third culture kid will always play a central role to who I am and how I navigate the world. As a coach, Elise, with her similar background, has a unique ability to understand the position I'm in. This is exactly what I've been saying to you. I can connect with your children so easily because I have been where they are. So look directly in my agenda and book an appointment. Click on the link below. You have nothing to lose. It's completely free of charge. We can discuss what your concerns are and how I can help. I understand that you want to be there for your children, and I can work with you as well as with your kids to ensure that they feel happy and confident and grow positively from this wonderful experience you have given them. So once again, click on the link below the video so that you can book an appointment directly with me. I look forward to speaking with you, and I'm sure that with a little push, your kids can go wherever they want to go because of the opportunities that you have given them. So, as a third culture kid, thank you for giving the same opportunities to your children that I had. Look forward to speaking with you.